Good morning, everybody. Okay, give me just a second, okay? Okay, I think we're set. So, doing things a little differently. I don't have my extra devices, so I had to share a link for our Instagram users to be able to come over to YouTube to, excuse me, to be able to see this morning's broadcast. So that was taking me just a second to get all that rolling, but we are on. We're rolling. Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are up and you're ready. And please make sure that you are sharing, okay? So you can share to your page, share to groups, especially if it's ones that you manage. Otherwise, just be careful. We know that everyone does not welcome spiritual broadcasts in their groups, such as buy, sell, trade, and stuff like that. So please just be mindful of where you are sharing, but please, please, please share this out. You can also tag your friends. So to do that, you're going to hit the little @ sign, just like you use in your email address. Start typing in their name, and when it pops up, click on it. You can say, hey, join us, connect with us this morning, whatever the case may be. Just make sure you only tag one person at the time, because we don't want Facebook to think that you are spamming people and get you blocked from commenting, okay? So that's the only reason we ask that you do one at the time. It's a Facebook thing, and we want to keep you and your account protected. So also you can hit the hearts, likes, wow emojis. You can share to your stories on Facebook. You can share to your stories on Instagram. Or excuse me, not Instagram this morning, but every other day you can share to your stories on Instagram. And on YouTube, you can share to text messages as a friend. You can share it to your Facebook. You can share it to your Twitter if you use that platform. Lots of great options there, okay? So we are going to go ahead and get rolling. I hope you guys are doing great. Mom asked me to take care of this for her. As y'all know from where we posted, she was having little issues going on, like with her voice and stuff. So since she has to minister so many times over the weekend, we want to give her as much time as possible to allow that to recover so she can minister at full strength without feeling like she's going to strip that out, okay? So I think that's all the things. So y'all just keep her covered in prayer for that. Y'all know she is in Arkansas doing some meetings. It was not where I could travel with her this time, which is very unusual for us, but wasn't in the place where I could travel with her this time due to some other things that we have to take care of. But we know all is well where she is. She's with great people who are taking excellent care of her and have been checking on her the whole way. So y'all just continue to pray for her and pray for just the meetings that they'll have an amazing time. We want people to be touched. We want them to be blessed, and we want them to walk away with something that they can really impact their lives with. So today, let me get this pulled up so you guys can see the title. Okay. So the title for today is Don't Get Stuck in Your Strategy. So if you guys want to start typing that strategy, and it probably does not mean what you guys think it means. I think we can really get our kind of preconceived ideas and get stuck in like this kind of rut and routine and just kind of like expect what we think it's going to be about, right? So don't get stuck in your strategy. I thought this was interesting because it was some things that I was just already thinking on and kind of looking into. Good morning, everybody. Again, thank you guys for joining and sharing. So it was some things that I was kind of already thinking on and looking into. And of course, you know how it is that God will just kind of set up some confirmation for you. So after I was kind of looking into some of these things, because, you know, we study, we do our research before we just throw these things out there to y'all. And I clicked on a replay from one of the ministers that we follow. And a lot of what he was saying was really in line with this. So I was like, okay, well, that's just kind of confirmation to that. So what I mean by don't get stuck in your strategy, I don't want it to even be about like the ruts that we put ourselves in, but it's even more so about the rut that we kind of put God in. Because when he does a miraculous thing for us or sends a blessing, I think sometimes it's so easy as humans to look at that and expect it to come the same way every single time. Like we see that, and let's say, for instance, it shows up as a unexpected check in the mail. And that's amazing and it's wonderful and we rejoice in those things. But when these things happen, sometimes we always look for it to come the same way. And when it doesn't, we as humans, you know, in our flesh, we get disappointed because we put our hope in that same strategy working the exact same way every single time. And it causes us frustration and it causes us to really just get in this place where we're always like, well, God, you're not coming through. And it's not that he's not coming through, but he's not coming through the way that we expect him to. So in this case, you know, it puts us in this place of like hope deferred. And, you know, it's like this spiral. Okay. All because we get stuck in what was originally God's strategy, but we turned it into our strategy. And that's what I mean by don't get stuck in your strategy, because we expect it to just kind of come the same way every single time. And where I want to go with this, it's 1 Kings. Now, I'm going to kind of paraphrase this because it would be a lot to just read through the whole thing. But if you look at 1 Kings 16, 17, and 18, very, very familiar. Typically, all of this is used in different instances, but really it's all one ongoing story. Excuse me, y'all. I haven't had enough to drink this morning to get my voice rolling. Okay, I think I'm good now. So if you look at 1 Kings 16, 17, and 18, we know it's talking about Elijah. We know it's talking about Ahab and Jezebel. And we don't even want to so much as focus on them as we do Elijah and the way that God really played this out for him. We know that in this time was when Ahab, he's starting to really just create all of these, you know, like false idols and false gods. And if you look at the scriptures, even the way that it was worded, because like in 1 Kings 16:33, he did this very intentionally. It wasn't he just doesn't understand, because like we get that. We get the non-believer, or we get the ones who, you know, were raised in a different religion all their lives and they just don't know, right? But in Ahab's case, it was very intentional and it was very strategic, because in 1 Kings 16:33, it says, and Ahab made Asherah, okay, idolatrous symbol of the goddess Asherah. Ahab did more to provoke the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger than all the kings of Israel before him. So this was like an intentional play at God. This was a very much planned. It was very much that's y'all's thing. I'm the king here. We don't do that here. And I mean, it even says he angered God more than all the kings of Israel before him. Now, like, you got to really mess up. I mean, like, there were some kings that, you know, they did some things, or like a prophet would come and they would be like, nope, not doing that. You know, even in the case of Pharaoh, would still be like a king. So they'd be like, no, not doing that. Like, that's not our God. That's your God. We're doing our thing. But to anger God more than any king in history of that time in Israel was like a huge deal. So we know that when you get into 1 Kings 17, Elijah comes into play, and he basically tells him, as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall be no dew or rain these years, but according to my words. So because of all that Ahab had done to anger God, Elijah comes in the scene and says, you know what, because of this, there will be no rain, not even dew. Now, you can go without rain, but to just straight up say, not even dew will fall on the ground, that it stunts your growth. It hinders your progress, because, you know, rain and water is needed for all life. And this wasn't like, oh, for a season. This was like for years. Shut it down. Not going to happen. Okay. So this is where I want to focus on is, excuse me, y'all, the instructions that God starts to give Elijah. Because from here, he says, go from here and turn east and hide yourself by the brook Cherith, east of the Jordan. So this was God sending provision. He says, go by this brook. You don't go to a brook in a drought, not expecting, not in the natural, you don't. Because you'd say, God, there's a drought. You said there's no rain. We're not even having dew. There's nothing to preserve the moisture in the air, the moisture, like bodies of water start drying up when you have a drought, all of it. Okay. So he tells him, you shall drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. So here, you know, he has his provision. He has his water. He has his food. He has really a safe place to hide, because at this point, when he gave out this prophetic word, was really was like pouring gas onto the fire of Ahab and Jezebel against him. Like when you already have people mad at you, and then you say, you know what, your resources are drying up. That's just like you didn't just like douse it with a little gasoline. You just threw the whole bottle on there. Okay. So, especially when it's a God that these people already despise. So he provides him, he gives him his resources. He gives him a place that's like a safe haven to him. But it says, after a while, the brook dried up, which was expected, because there was no rain in the land. And the word of the Lord came to him, you know, arise, go to Zarephath, dwell there. I've commanded a widow to provide for you. Now, it would be very easy for him to say, well, I know it dried up, but you're God. You told me to come here in the first place. You know, you don't have to fill up the whole brook, but if you can just keep this puddle replenished for me, I'll just sit here. I can sit here. You told me to come here. It's safe here. No one knows I'm here. Keep the ravens coming with the food. Just keep me a puddle replenished, and I'll be okay. Because humanly, that's just like the way that we naturally think. That's the way we naturally process things is, well, this is working, so why would I get up and leave? Yeah, it dried up, but you can provide replenishment for me. I'm your servant. I'm your prophet that you sent. You wouldn't put me in a place of drought and not provide for me. So why do I need to get up and go somewhere else? Why can't you just provide for me here? So that's where we as humans have to be careful not to get stuck in our strategy, because as much as we're taking on God's strategy as our own, we can't get stuck in the sense that that's our only strategy. We have to perpetually renew our minds, renew our spirits, renew our emotions to say, no matter what way it comes, that's what we're following. If we're here one day, somewhere else tomorrow, and we come back in 5 days, and then we're somewhere else next year, okay, that's it. We're cool with that. So, he goes to her. Mind you, the drought has still been declared. It's not over as far as the external circumstances. So he goes to her and he says, bring me a little water in a vessel that I may drink. As she was going to get it, he called to her and said, bring me a morsel of bread in your hand. Which, first of all, it was a big deal that she was even giving of her own water supply during that time. She's like, okay, I'm going to give you some water. God told me to take care of you. I'm going to give you some water, but now you want me to cook for you too. And she said, as the Lord your God lives, your God, not my God, your God, I have not a loaf baked, but only a handful of meal in the jar and a little oil in the bottle. See, I'm gathering 2 sticks that I may go and bake it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. So she had basically already decided, we're in this drought. I don't have what I need financially to take care of what I need to take care of. So I'm just going to, use up my last, and that's it. We'll just sit here until we go on. But he says, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, the jar of meal shall not waste away, or the bottle of oil fail, until the day that the Lord sends rain on the earth. Well, this was after he told her to fear not and just make mine first. That's all he asked. Okay? And mind you, he did this according to the words that God was giving him. So she did as Elijah said, and she and he and her household ate for many days. So it wasn't just her, because she really obeyed a God that wasn't even her God. And she says that your God. She didn't say my God, but because God had spoken to her to take care of the prophet, because of this one act of obedience, he became her God. And not only did he provide for the prophet, but he provided for her and her household. And it says, after these things, the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, became sick. And we know here that Elijah honored her for what she had done for him, for her obedience to God. And he cried out to God on her behalf and resurrected him. That's what we see through the rest of 1 Kings 17. So after this, because I don't want to just focus on that, I want to focus on the overall picture of this. Because it says, after many days, the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year, saying, go show yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth. Now, the last thing that you want to do at this point in time, because again, this is the same king that you have made angry beyond. He's been looking for you for 3 years. Your word that your God has sent has come to pass of causing a drought in the land, which you guys know, a drought, it leads to the stripping of resources in all capacities, because this wasn't one of those cases where they had stored up and they were prepared. You know, they didn't have a dream saying you're going to have 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. In your plenty, reserve your overflow to preserve you in your famine. No, this was a instantaneous word of the Lord. Because you have come against me, I'm causing a drought. So Elijah is like top of the hit list. And God says, okay, I'm going to move you from this place of comfort and where your resources have been. And I want you to go back to him. I want you to go talk to him. So Elijah went to show himself to Ahab. Now the famine was severe in Samaria. So he is at the height of his word coming to pass, okay? All right. So he comes in contact with Obadiah, which we know that when Ahab and Jezebel were going after the prophets, Obadiah was the one who took them and hid them in the caves to protect them. So Obadiah is really, he's kind of like a hidden, what's the right word? I don't really want to say savior, but he really is. He's like a hidden resource for the people of God. Okay. So they divided the land. Ahab went one way. Obadiah goes the other. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to scroll down here because, like I said, I want to paraphrase. I don't want to read the whole thing. So Obadiah comes into contact with Elijah, and Elijah says, go tell your Lord, behold, Elijah is here. And he said, what sin have I committed that you would deliver your servant into the hands of Ahab to be slain? They had already parted their ways. They made their peace. They parted their ways. And now here Elijah says, not only am I going to him, but you're going to go to him on my behalf and say he's here, which really put him in this dangerous place. And he just lets him know, look, as the Lord your God lives, there is no nation or kingdom where my Lord has not sent to seek you. When they said he is not here, he took an oath from the kingdom or nation that they had not found you. So it wasn't just by your word, okay, he's not here. It was you had to give an oath saying, he's not here. And if he shows up, you're going to be the first to know about it. And he said, as soon as I have gone out from you, the Spirit of the Lord will carry you, I know not where. So when I come and tell Ahab and he cannot find you, he will kill me. But I, your servant, have feared and revered the Lord from my youth. So he keeps on, just saying what's already been prophesied, about Jezebel slaying the prophets and how he hid them and he took care of them. He was a resource. He was a raven to these prophets that he hid because he provided them with bread and water. So this is where it says, Elijah said, as the Lord of hosts lives, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself to Ahab today. So Obadiah went to meet Ahab. He followed his word, okay, and told him, and Ahab went to meet Elijah. When Ahab saw Elijah, Ahab said to him, are you he who troubles Israel? Elijah replied, I have not troubled Israel, but you have, and your father's house, by forsaking the commandments of the Lord, by following the Baals. Therefore, send and gather to me all Israel at Mount Carmel, and the 450 prophets of Baal, and the 400 prophets of the goddess Asherah, who eat at Queen Jezebel's table. So Ahab sent to all the Israelites. Okay, he follows it. Because at this point, he's desperate. They're at the height of their famine. They're at the height of their drought. He's desperate. So Elijah came near to all the people and said, how long will you halt and limp between two opinions? And we know that this is where he calls down fire and he kind of proves God over the God of over the false God, little g, Baal. Okay. So we know here, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically, this is where he goes up to the mountain and let me swipe one more time. There we go. Goes up to the mountain and he releases the declaration of the drought on the land. So, as much as we love all these little mini stories that we pull out of here, my biggest focus is on us. Don't get stuck in your strategy. Don't get stuck on this one way of provision, because really that's what shuts down all other avenues of access to you from God and from his hand. Okay. So yeah, if you get a chance, y'all know, we'll tell you all the time, read several of those, because it starts around 1 Kings 17 and it goes on into 19 and possibly into 20. I'm not sure without scanning through all of that, but I think the biggest focus is don't get stuck in one strategy. Another reason we know, or some of us know, for those of you who are familiar with like the technological side of things and social media, it's a lot of what I keep up with to try to keep us on top of things in the ministry. But one way that social media works is it has a way, not necessarily your personal information, but it has a way of tracking, like ads that you click on. These days they had to rewrite it where you have to approve that, but even like tracking across apps, it was like a whole Apple thing where even though it doesn't necessarily know you and your personal information, but the internet ID tag is the way I'm going to describe it to keep from getting too technical about it. But you have like an internet ID that is connected to you by everything that you search on a single device. So, across Facebook, like Google, internet searching, Instagram, especially before they made these changes where you had to approve it, they could track across all of these. The good side about it was they could start showing you ads. So when businesses, let's say like my boutique, I could go in, set up an ad and say, I want to target females, which a lot of times when you sign up for an account, let's say it asks you male or female, it asks you your date of birth. Some ask for the year, some don't. A lot of times, like Facebook, you have your birthday on there and you'll input the year. Even if it's not public, you still have the year attached to create your account. So you could set up an ad, me as a business, to target females between the ages of 20 and 45, and their interests are Stephen Furtick and TD Jakes, and let's say you follow Christian Bookstore and whatever else, right? So it takes this information and it creates what we call an algorithm to target all of the people in that, which is great if I am providing a Christian shirt to show you something that you would potentially be interested in. The problem with that is it was getting to the point where you could be pinpointed, almost like a dot on a map of, well, this person that's connected to this ID wants to see this. Let's show them only that. And it became like a very targeted thing. And it's the same way because we know that the natural world and the spiritual world parallel. So when we get into these ruts of following our own strategy, okay, what was originally God's strategy, but we kind of, turned it into our own, of following the same thing, doing the same thing, expecting the same thing. We get into these ruts of going to the same places and looking in the same corners. You see what I'm saying? So it goes from being beneficial because we're looking for God there. We have the right intention. We have the right heart. We have the right motives. we're setting our hopes and our intentions in the right place. But on the flip side of things, it makes it very easy for the enemy to target us, because he knows where we're going. He knows your strategy. He knows your motives. He knows your moves. He knows, well, every Monday, she's going to fast between 2 and 4 p.m. in preparation for her Bible study that she's going to do at 6. So let me make sure I hit her between 12 and 1. That way I can deter her before she gets into that. I think strategies are great. I think plans are great. But I also know that God is spontaneous, and we have to be just as spontaneous with him. We have to be just as open, just as willing, just as in the moment as he is. We have to be just as willing to, at the drop of a hat, stop doing something or start doing something. We have to be at the drop of a hat, switch from Monday to Wednesday to Sunday to back to Monday and then over to Friday. So the biggest thing, and I know it seems kind of like repetitive, but do not get stuck in your strategy. Even if you feel like that strategy came from God, he consistently has new and fresh for you. Okay. So, as much as I hate to cut it short, I am on a time limit today due to previous appointments, but I'm going to put up the links for you guys to be able to give. I really do encourage you guys, go back and watch these replays. We have 3 replays from Sunday that you guys can go back and watch. Yes, we have to move as God moves. We have to be led by the Spirit. And these kind of things, it causes confusion on what we call the enemy side of the spiritual world, because we're doing the exact opposite of what he expects of us. It's everything following God's expectation, but it's the exact opposite of what the enemy really expects from us and kind of predicts from us. So don't get stuck in your strategy. Stay open. Keep your ears open. Keep your eyes open, because it's like when you least expect it, God will shift even the tiniest thing, but it will bring the biggest results. So again, thank you guys for joining us this morning. I am going to try my best to keep up with the live streams while she is out of town, okay? Because like I said, she's in Arkansas. We have meetings all throughout this weekend, and then again, one time next week. So I'm going to keep up finding those live streams, and we will be sharing them onto our pages. So make sure you guys are watching for that. So you can go to janetgermanministries.com. There's a sow a seed page there. You can go to paypal.me/JGMIN. You're going to type that in just like a website. It is our ministry PayPal. And if you would like to designate your seed in either of those places, you can leave a note. There's a little pen and paper, and you just click on that. You can type in a note, whether it's, a scripture you want to attach to it, whatever it is that you're believing God for, or if you would like to designate it personally to myself or to my mom, you can put our names in there, and we take care of that for you, okay? You can mail in your seed to P.O. Box 1011, Bartow, Florida 33831. You can also attach a note in there. Like I said, scriptures, things you're believing God for, or if you would like to designate your seed, all of that can be handled there. For those of you who prefer to use Cash App, we do have that available to you. $ Janet German MIN is for the ministry. $ Janet German is her personal. And $ Katie German is my personal, and my name is spelled CATIE. Another thing I wanted to mention, because I know at times we've had people ask about like Venmo. We don't have Venmo. It is a PayPal owned business, and we just did it. We don't really have a need to offer both, because it's basically the same company in 2 different names. So just so you guys know, all of that is available to you. Again, I will be sharing the streams as they come up. I know there's one tonight. I believe there's one Saturday, Sunday, and if I'm not mistaken, it's Wednesday. Okay. So I will be sharing those streams. She will be live again Sunday. I'm going to see if I can work it out where we can both stream through StreamYard together. I won't be able to be on Instagram, but I do think I can get on here on Facebook and YouTube so we can keep that consistency of being live together for you guys on Sunday mornings. So y'all have an amazing day. We'll be posting more. Like I said, she will be live again. She just needed some time to rest her voice. And we'll see y'all soon. Bye.